All right. Shalom, Israel, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. All right. This is Priest in the Office of 1,000 in Rosh Hashanah. All right. In the ISUPK in the state of Virginia. All right. We're going to be talking about today. Right now, we're in the Feast of Dedication. All right. We are now in the Feast of Dedication. This is a memorial service, and this is something that we do. This is something that's a part of our culture. And this is a part of our heritage. Like you see these candles lit right here. This was a tradition that has been passed down years after years after years since the Greek captivity. Now we went over the Greek captivity, but we're going to also go into a little bit some more details and kind of go over similar details that we went over yesterday. All right, just similar. All right, but we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of things. We're going to get into how the Greek captivity was and how evil and disgusting it was. And then we're going to talk about us eventually getting into the Roman Empire and under Roman rulership. Like there was levels to this. Now, if you guys do not know, all right, if you guys do not know the Greeks, all right, in history, the Greeks would be our oppressor today. Like the Greeks would be your Donald Trumps today. Like the Greeks and the Romans would be like your Donald Trumps and your Joe Bidens and your Bill Clintons and your Hillary Clintons and your Ronald Reagans today. Like that's who the Greeks and the Romans would be, all right, which would be our oppressor, which would be the Edomites or Idumea. You understand? Like these are our oppressor. Like these are the people, the very same people we're dealing with today. You're wondering why when you go into D.C. and you go into Washington, D.C. and you see Roman structures and you see Greek structures. Why do you see these type of structures? Because these are their descendants. Joe Biden is a descendant of the Greeks and the Romans. You understand? Donald Trump, your Bill Clinton, your Hillary Clintons, your Ronald Reagans, your JFKs, your Lyndon B. Johnsons, your Dwight D. Eisenhowers, your Abraham Lincolns, your George Washingtons, your Thomas Jeffersons, your John Adams, your Andrew Jacksons. Like these are the descendants of these Greeks and these Romans, which would be Edomites, which would be Esau or Edom or Idumea. You understand? According to the scriptures, according to the Bible. All right, and we're going to get into it. All right. So now, if you guys also have any questions too, you guys can put into the live chat. Make sure you sign in and check in, all right, and be very prepared for class. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into first. I want to get into Second Maccabees. I want to get into Second Maccabees. I want to say chapter 6. All right, and then I'm a precept. So yesterday we went over how it was unlawful to keep the law. Like the Greeks mandated, like the Greeks put into charge. So we're talking about the Jews here. We're talking about the Jews. We're talking about Israelites here. We're talking about so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans here. While we were in Greek captivity, while we were under the captivity of the Greeks. Now historically speaking, what happened was Alexander the Great came, all right, and conquered almost the entire coast of like the Middle East. All right. Now, of course, we dwelt in the Middle East. That's where we lived. We lived in the area of so-called Pakistan today, in Arabia today, in Saudi Arabia, and Palestine, and that Israeli state, and all those places over there in the Middle East, in Iran and Iraq, Afghanistan. Like that's where the nation of Israel, that's where we live. Like that's our homeland. They call it the Middle East today, but it was never called the Middle East. That was called all of Israel. Like all of Israel was between the four main rivers in the Bible. Like that was the land of Israel between those four rivers of the Bible. We lived in between the four rivers. We lived in between the Hiddekel, the Pison, the Euphrates, and the Tigris. Like we lived in between those four rivers in the Bible. That was all of our land. Now, Alexander the Great, which was the Greeks, he came and conquered a lot of things. And he set up a lot of stuff. All right. He put a lot of policies and a lot of laws and rules and regulations against our people so he can oppress our people. Not him specifically, but his descendants, but who he put in charge. And then after that, whoever put whoever in charge, and et cetera, et cetera, and et cetera. Like that, like that's how it was. So let's get 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens, a man of Athens. Anybody know what Athens is? Like this is a place within Greece. Like this is a place within the Greek Empire of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. So he sent an old man. Now that old man can be found in 1 Maccabees chapter 1. Like that's who that old man is. Like this is what 2 Maccabees chapter 6 is talking about. It's talking about what was stated in 1 Maccabees chapter 1 that we went over last night, that we went over during the feast, well, the beginning of the Feast of Dedication. Remember, the Feast of Dedication is similar, is not similar, it's not properly, but properly, right? Like being popular, like popularly known as the Feast of Hanukkah or Hanukkah. Like that's the Feast of Dedication. They call it the Feast of Lights and all that type of stuff. But biblically, it's called the Feast of Dedication, but we call it Hanukkah or Hanukkah in the Hebrew. In the ancient Hebrew, Hanukkah. Hanukkah. That's how you would pronounce it. Now, the Feast of Dedication is based off of what's going on during the Greek captivity. All right. Now, this right here that I'm reading in 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 1, that old man is referring to what 1 Maccabees chapter 1 was talking about. And it says, Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. Like, what was the laws of the fathers of the Israelites? Like, what was the laws of the fathers of the Jews? Like, we had customs. We had a heritage of our own. Like, we had laws and rules and regulations that the Lord established with our people since forever. We've been keeping the law since Moses. We've been keeping the law since forever. So we had rules and regulations that we lived by. And those rules and regulations and those ordinances and those commands and those laws was our culture. That was our heritage. Those were our customs. Those were our traditions. So like those same laws were our traditions. So now when it says, all right, now when it says in 2 Maccabees chapter 6, all right, verse 1, towards the middle of verse 1, compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. We had laws. Those laws was not to eat pork, not to eat shrimp, not to eat lobster, not to be a homosexual, not to be a lesbian, not to be an ally of the LGBTQIA plus community. You understand? Not to have seafood boils, not to get them crab legs. You understand? Not to take part into lesbianism, not to take part into incest, not to take part of pedophilia, not to take part of murder, not to take part of abortion. Do you understand? Not to take part of serving other gods, not to take part of smoking weed and getting high, and smoking cigarettes, and smoking crack and sniffing coke, and popping mollies and Percocets, and shooting up heroin. Like these are things against the law. These are things that the Lord put into place for us not to do. And we were supposed to keep these laws and keep these ordinances because this is what made us wise. Like this was the order given from the Most High. Like these were the traditions and the customs and the heritage, all right, that the Lord passed down to the Jews, to the Israelites. If you are so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, you are God's chosen people, and you are the Israelites according to the Bible. And we were supposed to keep these laws from the very beginning, you understand? Like we were been supposed to keep these laws, you understand, faithfully. You understand? Faithfully, we're supposed to keep these laws. You understand? Come on, Princess, go ahead. Okay, keep them away from it. Put it up, Princess. All right. Now, this is something that we were supposed to do from the very beginning. But now this Greek, that old man that was sent from Athens, he's trying to compel us to eat pork. He's trying to compel us to be a murderer. He's trying to compel us to have them seafood boils. He's trying to compel us to practice homosexuality and to practice lesbianism. Now, I want everyone to know, I want everyone to realize, like to practice homosexuality and to practice lesbianism comes from Greek and Roman culture. This type of culture comes from our oppressor. Like you guys know the word lesbian, right? You know, lesbianism. The word lesbian comes from the Greek word Lesbos, which was a city within Greek, Lesbos. The reason why it comes from the Greek word Lesbos, all right, and that city within Greek called Lesbos, because the city of Lesbos was one of the first cities in the Greek Empire to practice a woman having sex with another woman. Like this was the culture of our ancestors. It's like not our ancestors, Salakia. God forbid, please don't throw me out. Please don't throw me out the school. Salakia. Like this came from the culture of our oppressor. You understand? Like this was the culture of our oppressor. You understand? Like they practiced this. They did it. Like this was never us. We never chose like it. We were never taking part, right, of homosexuality and lesbianism until we followed other nations to do so. What we did was practice what God said to do, a man and a woman, right? A man over a woman, or a man over two or three or four women. Like in our culture, a man has more than one wife, and he deals with more than one woman, and he's the father of those many homes. Like that's in the Bible, like that's in the law, that's in the scriptures, that's in our customs, our culture, and our traditions. We didn't practice homosexuality like the Greeks and the Romans. We didn't practice lesbianism like the Greeks and the Romans. We didn't practice pedophilia like the Greeks and the Romans. That's why in the Roman Catholic Church, there's so many little boys being molested. And there's so many little boys and girls being touched because that's Greek and Roman culture. To have sex with children, to have sex with little children, and to have a sexual desire towards a 5 or 4 year old or some 6 or 7 or 9 year old is Greek and Roman culture. And these are the very same people that are compelling us to go against the law of our fathers, which is the law given from the Most High, and not to live after the laws of God. Like they did not want us to live after the laws of God because the laws of God stated to not do what they practice. The laws of God stated to not do what they do. Like the laws of God stated that we are not to be a part of them, but to be separate from them. Like the laws of God state that we cannot be a part of them and they cannot be a part of us. Like they cannot enter into our sanctuaries and they cannot enter into our congregation. Like our law states there's a certain way to do business with them. Like our law states how to deal with these other nations and how to deal with these heathens like the Greeks and the Romans and the Idumeans and the Edomites and the Elamites and the Midianites and the Egyptians and the Nigerians and the Algerians and the Arabians and the Saudi Arabians and the people from Turkey and the Irish and all this type of stuff. I'm just giving you examples of different nations, of the East Indians, of the Chinese, of the Japanese, of the Vietnamese, of the Koreans, of the Cambodians, whatever the case may be, the Lithuanians, whatever the case may be. The Lord gave rules and regulations and set up laws and commands and ordinances how to live a certain way and how to deal with these other nations and these other nationalities of people. So the Lord goes on and continues to say, all right, and not to live after the laws of God, verse 2, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. Like there was different ways to pollute the temple in Jerusalem. Like the temple in Jerusalem was the temple that King Solomon built. One of the temples that King Solomon built was in Jerusalem. Like the temple in Jerusalem was a very important temple in Israel. Like a lot of brothers and sisters, when you start reading when Christ came to the scene, Jerusalem, even in the Old Testament, Jerusalem was always a place of congregation, of congregating. Salakia. Like the city of Jerusalem was always a place to congregate for all Israelites, like the Ephraimites and the Simeonites and the Manassites and the Gadites and the Zebulunites and the Issacharites and the Naphtaliites and the Asherites and the Judites and the Benjamites and the Levites. If I'm missing any, I'll say it for sure. All right. We would come together and we would congregate in Jerusalem. Like that was within our customs. Like that was within our tradition. So the Lord is saying right here is the Lord is saying what the heathen is doing right now. Like the Lord is explaining what the Lord is explaining, all right, what the heathen is compelling us to do. It says, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. Like there were different ways to pollute the temple. Like to pollute the temple was to make the temple unclean. Like to make something unclean. Like the temple was something that you could not make unclean because it was a clean and holy and sacred place. Like that was a part of our culture and our traditions too, was to keep the temple clean. And in our law, it explains how to keep the temple clean. Of course, we can go into it, especially during the law class for sure, how to not pollute the temple and how to keep our nation clean and how to keep our culture and our traditions clean and our people clean. Like the way to keep the temple clean, I'll give y'all some examples. You cannot have a heathen into our congregation. That's how you would pollute the temple. Anyone that is not of the nationality of the Israelites, if you did not come from so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, if you were not from the tribe of Judah or the tribe of Simeon or the tribe of Benjamin or Levi or the tribe of Ephraim or Manasseh or the tribe of Asher or Gad or from the tribe of Reuben and Issachar and from the tribe of Zebulun and Naphtali or the tribe of Manasseh, if you were not from the 12 tribes of Israel, you were not allowed in the temple. You could not even be in the temple, my man. Like you could not do it, brother. I promise you, you could. You could not come in there, man. If you could not tell us who your father was, if you could not tell us your family tree based off your fathers, you were put to death on sight. You could not come in the temple. You understand? Like it was a part of our culture where Moses did a test to see who the Lord was with, and they put all the staffs, they put all the names of the brothers of their fathers on a staff. You understand? Of who their father was and what family was the Lord with. And of course, there was one staff that blossomed with beautiful flowers and things like that. And the family that the Lord chose was Aaron, which was the priesthood that the Lord raised up. That was a part of our culture. Like it was very important to understand how not to pollute the temple and not to make the temple unclean in any way, shape, and form. If you were not supposed to be in the temple, you made the temple unclean damn near. You polluted the temple. Like this was a part of our culture, man. If you cannot tell us who your father was, you were either put to death on sight because you were never supposed to step foot in that temple because that was the law. You cannot eat pork and start cooking pork and having seafood boils in the temple. Like these are all unlawful foods. You understand? Like this was not allowed. You couldn't do these things. Like this is something very, 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 very important to understand. So like 1 second. You understand? So we're gonna get into it. Get in that room. And you're supposed to be playing. Get in that room. So this is something very important to understand. Like this is a part of our culture. Like this is who we are. You understand? So it says to pollute the temple in Jerusalem and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus. Like we have to understand it's called the Jupiter of Olympus. Like this is now you can tell this is Greek. How many of y'all know who Jupiter is? And how many of y'all know what Olympus is? Anybody online? Can anybody tell me Olympus or Judah? I mean, it's like an Olympus or Judah. Can anyone tell me Jupiter or Olympus? Does anybody know who Jupiter is? Can someone tell me who Jupiter is? Anybody know who Jupiter is? I'll tell y'all for time's sake too. Right, Jupiter was a Roman god. Okay, even though Jupiter was a Roman god, it came from Greece. It came from Greece first. It came from the Greeks first. So a lot of the gods, okay, so you're very okay. You're on it, Aqua. So you're not incorrect, by the way. It is a Roman god. All right, Haya is definitely a Roman god. So let me explain in detail. A lot of Roman gods within Roman mythology are the very same gods in Greek mythology. Now, some of them may go by different names, but they are the same. But some did stay the same. And that very same, the Jupiter, right? The Jupiter is also a Greek god, which is also a Roman god as well. And it was the god of the sky. All right, Jupiter was the god of the sky, the god of the sky and thunder, and the king of gods. You understand? It was mostly in Roman. It was mostly practiced for sure in Roman times, but the Greeks also had a god Jupiter. All right, which is the same god in Roman mythology. All right, so when it says and to call it the temple of Jupiter, all right, so they want to call the temple of Jerusalem the temple of Jupiter, Olympus. All right, now does anybody know what Olympus is? Y'all can tell me online. What is Olympus? Does anybody know about Olympus? What is Olympus? Someone tell me, what is Olympus? This should sound familiar, right? I want y'all to let me know or tell me, what is Olympus? All right. Olympus. Can anybody tell me Olympus? What is Olympus? For time's sake, I'll let y'all can still answer, but I give you all the time. So Olympus was where all the gods stayed. It was a place. Olympus was a mythical place that the Greeks made up where all their gods would live. Like a lot of other cultures believe of more than one God. The only culture on the earth, it's like the only people on the earth at one point in time that believed in one God and one God only was the Israelites. I want everyone to understand this. While everyone else was serving other gods and idols and their customs, there was only one nation of people. There was only one nationality of people who believed in one God, and it was the Israelites. Everyone else was serving more than one God. Like the Egyptians believed in more than one God. The Babylonians believed in more than one God. The Assyrians believed in more than one God. The Persians, which are the East Indians, believed in more than one God. The Greeks, the Romans, obviously believed in more than one God. You understand? And so Olympus was a mystical place or a mythical place where all their gods lived. Now, Mount Olympus, you probably heard this from. You probably heard this. All right. You may have heard this term before in a lot of Greek movies. Like I don't know if y'all remember that old childhood movie. You know what I'm saying? Teenagers, kids will watch Hercules. Anybody remember the movie Hercules? And I'm talking about the Disney movie Hercules, right? And you seen where all the gods were like Hermes and Zeus and Athena and I mean I don't know them all, but you got Zeus and Hades and Poseidon and Athena, Hermes, I think Cupid may have been one too. I think I don't know too much about. I don't know too much now. I ain't really into it, but I remember a little bit about Greek and Roman mythology, just a little bit. All right, but they go their customs is really weird. All right, but they had a god for everything. All right, in Greek. All right, and Olympus was the place where they stayed, and this is where they wanted to make our temple into. They wanted to name our temple this. All right, and this was polluting the temple. To name our temple, to name our temple, to name our temple, and to make our temple into the service of another god was polluting our temple. You understand? And that was something against the Lord. All right, Jupiter Olympus, and that in Garzim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. Because remember, at this time and place, all right, in this time and place, there were strangers now living in our place. There were strangers now living in our land. Like you have to understand, like we were breaking down that yesterday. There's strangers living in our land now. There's another people living in our land that we did not know. Like now, we never knew our city like we know our city now. Like imagine Norfolk used to be all black, and now is no longer black, and we ran out the city, and there's nothing but Arabs and East Indians and Vietnamese and Koreans living in our city with a little bit of black people and Latinos and Native Americans. The city is now strange. Like we don't know what this city used to be. I remember this used to be all black and all black businesses and Puerto Rican businesses and Cuban businesses. Now we got Little Italy. Now we got Chinatown. Like, what's going on here? We got Chinese restaurants here. We got Italian pizza stores here. Like, those wasn't black stores. Like, that wasn't black customs. Like, we had our own food businesses, our own grocery stores. Now you got an East Indian grocery store downtown Norfolk. Like, what's going on here? Like, Norfolk used to be black. You understand? Especially on Church Street. Church Street used to be black. That was a major street right there. And they used to be all black with black businesses, had an own black theater. Like, that was all black, and it was a successful strip. Now there's nothing but East Indians running and Arabs running the gas stations over there, and the 7-Elevens. It's all destroyed. There's nothing but heroin and crack there. Like, it's completely destroyed. Like, this is what was happening. This was simultaneously happening. All right, the polluting of the temple. All right, as the old desire that dwelt in the place. Verse 3. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. Like, why was this so mischief? Why was this so mischief and grievous to the people? Because we were not used to this type of lifestyle, and this type of lifestyle was killing us. This lifestyle was destroying us. Like, they was trying to make us pollute our temple and to get rid of our customs. Like, they wanted us to practice homosexuality and lesbianism. They wanted us to smoke weed and get high. They wanted us to shoot up heroin. They wanted us to do drugs. Like, drugs is nothing new in the earth out. Like, drugs is nothing new in the earth outlaw. There's drugs in every kingdom. There's always some type of drug in every last kingdom. There was a drug in Egypt. There was a drug in Babylon. There was a drug in Assyria. There was a drug in Persia. Like, there's drugs everywhere. Right? You understand? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's why the Lord said in Proverbs. A ungodly man diggeth up evil. Like, this was during the time of King Solomon, by the way. Like, this was during the time of King Solomon. And King Solomon said, a ungodly man, this was of the Lord, an ungodly man diggeth up evil. You understand? And puts a burning fire to his lips. Like, there's been drugs since centuries ago, man. Ain't nothing new. This wasn't specifically to America. They got these customs from the Egyptians, down to the Babylonians, down to the Assyrians, down to the Persians, down to the Greeks, to the Romans, and now we in America. So, like, it's been like that forever, man. Like, this is why it says, that's why it says in verse 3, in 2 Maccabees Chapter 6, verse 3, the coming in of this mischief. It says, the coming in of this mischief. That mischief was against the law. That mischief was homosexuality and lesbianism and the LGBTQIA plus community. That was the mischief. The mischief was the pork and the shrimp and the lobster. The mischief was just having sex with whores. Like, the mischief was that mischief was allowing your women to be whores and allowing our women to dress how they want to dress and talk how they want to talk. Like, that was the mischief. You understand? Was sore and grievous to the people. Like, this was terrible and hard on us because this was not our custom. This was not our way of life. Like, this was not what we're supposed to do. Like, understand? Like, this pedophilia and this sexual deviant type of life culture that we were forced upon by the Greeks, this was grievous and hard on us. All right. Verse 4. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling. It says reveling by the Gentiles. Anybody know it says reveling? I want to say that's reveling. Sorry, like reveling. All right, revel, as in revel, as in to take part and revel, like carouse. All right, to take pretty much to take into bad behavior. You understand? Like, that's what it means to revel. All right, I want to say I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let me double check. All right, revel. All right, revel. So like reveling. So I was correct. So reveling, right? It says, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles. Why? Because this is what they enjoyed. Like, this was the behavior that they loved. This was the behavior that they loved so much. They loved eating pork. Those Gentiles, which would be non-Israelites, they loved eating pork. They loved eating shrimp. They loved eating lobster. They loved having sex with little children, which is pedophilia. The men loved having sex with other men, which we know what that is. The women loved having sex with other women. We know what that is. They love to murder. They indulge in so much in orgies and all this type of stuff. They love this. You understand? Like this was their culture. Like that was Greek and Roman culture. Like it was a practice. Like there were certain gods you were allowed and permitted to practice in Greek and Roman culture that involved you having sex with children, that involved you eating pork and shrimp and lobster, that involved you putting your children in some flames and burning them to death, that involved you doing whatever that you desired to do, that involved you to go after what you wanted and not what the Lord wanted. Like there were laws and gods that permitted you to do that. As long as you were worshiping this God, you were in your God-given right according to those gods. According to those gods that allowed you to do what you want, you were permitted and you were in your rights to do it. If that God was, you can go ahead and lure children into your house and do whatever you want with them. If that God permitted it, it was in your right to do it. If you wanted to get another man to have sex with him, you understand? You were permitted to do it as long as that God said it was okay. And allow me to tell you, in most heathen cultures, there's a God for everything you would want to do. There's a God that wants you to do whatever you want. Whatever you want to do, there's a God for it. If you want to smoke weed, there's a God for it called Shiva. If you want to wear dreadlocks, there's a God for you that wears dreadlocks. Go ahead and serve it. There's a God for everything that you want to do. If you want to go ahead and pop mollies and Percocets, there's a God that allows you to do it. If you want to go ahead and murder, there's a God that allows you to murder. There's a God that allows you to steal. There's a God that allows you to treat people how you want to treat them and not how it wants you to do. Now I want everyone to know that God today is that white Jesus Christ, that blue-eyed, blonde-haired devil in the Christian church, which his name is Caesar Borgia, the second son of Pope Alexander VI of Rome, who is Leonardo da Vinci's homosexual lover, who had sex with his sister, who killed his father. Imagine that. Imagine I just told you a man who did everything that the Greeks and Romans believed in. And that was just one man. Imagine what they all did. Let's go ahead and continue. All right. Who dallied with harlots. Here we go. Who dallied with harlots. Does anybody know what a harlot is? Anybody tell me what a harlot is? A lot of our sisters don't know what a harlot is now. A lot of our sisters don't know what a whore is now because of society, of the acceptance of this sexual deviant lifestyle. Anybody tell me what a harlot is in the Bible and what a harlot is according to the Lord? Anybody know what a harlot is? Y'all can give me the answer if you would like, but I'll give y'all the answer for time's sake. This is what a harlot is. A harlot is any woman that has sexual intercourse with a lot of men. All right? Okay? A harlot is a woman that has sexual intercourse with a lot of men. Right, a loose woman, that's correct. So once again, a harlot is a woman that has sexual intercourse with a lot of men. In our culture, a woman cannot just freely have sex with whoever she wants to have sex with. In our culture, not even a man had the right and the freedom to have sex with whoever he wanted to have sex with. There were always rules and guidelines to who a man and a woman can have sex with. Now, specifically for a woman could not just have the freedom to have sex with whoever and whenever and how many ever. That wasn't our culture. When a woman laid down with a man consently and willingly and willfully, like she opened up her legs and it was not rape and it was not sexual assault, all right? It was consented, it was willfully, it was willingly. that man becomes her husband. All right. Wait, 1 second, princess. All right. That man, all right, becomes her husband. Anything outside, any man that she decides to have sex with after that, she becomes a harlot. She becomes a whore, and she's under the law of adultery at that point. There are rules and guidelines for our women, our men and women. A woman could not just go and just leave her man and go and have sex with another man. Like that was not our custom. Like that's not what the Lord ordained. Like that's not what the Lord set up. You cannot just go out and have sex with another man and expect to be with that same man. You cannot have sex with another man and expect nothing to happen to you. You cannot bounce from man to man to man. Like that's a sign of a harlot. That's a sign of a loose woman. The only time a woman can have sex with another man is if her husband dies. If she becomes a widow, that is the only time when a woman can go and have sex with another man and get another husband. That is the only time the Lord permits a woman to get another man. If her first man dies. You cannot just go up and get another man in Israel. You cannot just go up and get another man in the customs of the Israelites and the customs of the Jews and the traditions of the Lord. You cannot just do that. All right. That's why it says right here, right? All right. Who dallied with harlots. These Gentiles, they love harlots. And Gentiles, it was okay for a woman to be a harlot. It was okay for their women to be loose women. It was okay for their women to go ahead and have sex with whoever they wanted to have sex with and how many. Like in their culture, you can have a whole bunch of orgies and threesomes and all these type of disgusting things. You can do that in Greek and Roman culture, but not in Israel, but not according to the Jews. Then it says, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And it says, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. So what did they do with these harlots in the holy places? Y'all put that in as an answer. What did they do with these whores, these harlots within the holy places? Y'all give me the common answer and the known answer of what they did. Let me see what answers y'all got. Let's see what answers y'all got. All right. So now it says, all right, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. So what did they do? They had sex with whores in the holy places. They had sex with whores in the temple. Like that's why in the Roman Catholic Church, historically speaking, in the Roman Catholic Church, you can look this up. There's a bunch of documentaries on it. There's a bunch of historic records in it. Like in the Roman Catholic Church, that's why there's prostitution in the Roman Catholic Church. Like that's why those popes and those priests in the Catholic Church, they take in whores to have sex with them. They have orgies in those Roman Catholic churches. They also have sex with children in those Roman Catholic churches because this is their culture. And besides that, bought in things that were not lawful, meaning they brought things that were not lawful into the temple, like your pork, your shrimp, your lobster, your whores, all right, your drugs. You understand? These things were not allowed in the temple. This is how they polluted the temple in Jerusalem, all right? Verse 5, the altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. It says the altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Meaning there were profane things, meaning there were things against the Lord. There were things against the Lord, all right, that there were things against the Lord that was in that temple, all right. Now it goes on to say, Second Maccabees Chapter 6, verse 6. Neither was it lawful Now it says, neither was it lawful for a man. It says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days. So now it's saying it was not lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath days. Meaning, remember, in the Jews' culture, in the culture of the Israelites, the Sabbath was a day of rest. The Sabbath was when we took time for ourselves to relax and allow the land to relax. You understand? Let it, we took a chill. We do, spend time with our families, whatever the case may be. That's what we did on the Sabbath. If you were a priest on the Sabbath, you taught the Sabbath service. You were in the temple, you were teaching classes on the Sabbath. And of course, during the time of Moses, you were putting up sacrifices and all these type of burnt offerings and these drink offerings and these type of there's different meat offerings, all these type of offerings, maybe on the Sabbath. Like that was your job as a priest during the time of Moses, during the time before Christ. Of course, after Christ, we don't do those type of offerings and those type of sacrifices and sin offerings and things like that. But that's what you would do. So we were forbidden to do these things. All right. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fast. Or ancient fast. What is an ancient fast? Does anybody know what a fast is? What would be an ancient fast according to the Israelites? What would be an ancient fast according to the Jews? That ancient fast would be the Day of Atonement. All right, like the Day of Atonement, or any fast that you would want to do, right? Because here's why. Here's why they said, you got to understand the spirit of why they're telling you to do these things. Why are they making it not, why are they making it unlawful? Why are they making it not lawful for us to fast? Because we can easily say, all right, we can easily say, you know what? I'm fasting from this pork. I'm fasting from this shrimp. I'm fasting from this lobster. So now we're in our God-given right to not keep the customs of these people. But they knew this. They knew that we can fast from food. And we can fast from certain things. That we can fast from anything. So they said, nah, you can't fast. Because you will eat this pork and shrimp and lobster. You will worship these other gods. You will not fast from serving these gods. And you will not fast from these whores. You will not fast from this food. You will not fast from this lobster and this seafood boils. You're not going to fast from this. All right? Or to profess himself. It says, or to profess himself. Or to profess himself. What does it mean to profess? Meaning this is, you're saying something about yourself. To profess himself. Meaning this is what you're declaring of yourself. All right? Or to profess himself at all. Meaning you cannot profess yourself this at all. Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Everybody read that, right? Everybody read that, right? It says, or to profess himself to be a Jew. Meaning it was unlawful. It was unlawful, you understand? It was unlawful for a brother. It was unlawful for a Jew to profess himself to be a Jew. And that's evil. That's evil. Like this is what it is. Like that's why the Lord says they take crafty counsel against thy people, against thy hidden ones, who said, let us take to ourselves. You understand? It's like I'm skipping all the way down. You understand? To make the name of Israel no more in remembrance. For they consult together with one's consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, of Ishmael. You understand? It's like it. The Ishmaelites, Moab, the Hagarim, Gabal, Ammon. It's like I mixed that up. Ammon. You understand? Like this is what it says in Psalms 83. You understand? Like this is what it says in the scriptures. It says to profess himself. It says right here, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Meaning you cannot even call yourself a Jew. Meaning what? What would you have to call yourself? If you cannot call yourself a Jew, then what would you have to call yourself? Anybody want to guess? I'm gonna skip down to verse 9. It says right here in verse 9, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. Like this is what the Lord also says right here. Whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. Meaning, if you did not conform your ways and conform yourself to follow the customs of the Gentiles, meaning you could not call yourself a Jew. Meaning what? You had to be a Greek. Remember, this is talking about Greek captivity. If we could not call ourselves Jews, then we had to call ourselves what? Greeks. We had to call ourselves Greeks. We had to call ourselves Corinthians. We had to call ourselves Romans. We had to call ourselves Thessalonians. We had to call ourselves Galatians. We had to call ourselves Ephesians. We had to call ourselves this. We had to call ourselves Greeks. Why? Because if we did not follow what this king put into place, we were going to be put to death for it. The Lord said, it's like he said, the Gentiles should be put to death. Whoso could not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. Meaning a man can finally see how evil it is. You understand? How evil it is to not follow the king's commandments. But it's even more evil to disobey the Lord. Let's get it, man. So now that's just a recap. Now I wanted to pull that out because that was just a recap of what First Maccabees Chapter 1 was talking about. Like that's just a small recap of what First Maccabees Chapter 1 and down was talking about and all the evil things. All right. So now let's get into now of course, the reason why we did, let's see, First Maccabees. So we went into Rome and entered into the Senate. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I believe I want First Maccabees or Second Maccabees. I'm gonna get into the Senate houses. All right. I'm gonna get into where we came into when we came into Roman captivity, where the beginning of how we ended up into Roman captivity. All right. Let's see. I want to say Senate houses. All right. First Maccabees chapter 8. All right, let's get First Maccabees chapter 8. So now, but I'm gonna start at verse 1. All right. So now, all right, here we go. So we're gonna start at First Maccabees chapter 8. And we're gonna go all the way down towards 15 and maybe just a little further. So now we gotta understand we're still under Greek captivity. And because we're under Greek captivity, we're going to war. Like Maccabees and the sons of Maccabees, you understand? Like we and Maccabees, Mattathias, all right? Maccabees, Mattathias. You understand? We were taught that we had We had to go to war after war after war to fight for our freedom, to fight for our land back, to fight to not be under the oppression of our oppressor. You understand? We had to fight and fight and fight and fight. You understand? We were going to war after war after war. Like this is what the Feast of Dedication is about. It's about the Israelites. It's about the Jews, so-called blacks and Latinos and Hispanics. All right. Some of the Latinos and the Native Americans, because we were not all of us was there, but some of us were. All right. So some blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we were going to war after war, battle after battle to fight for our rights to serve the Lord. We were fighting for our rights to not pollute the temple, to not eat shrimp, pork, and lobster, to not have sex with whores, to not obey the king's commandments. Like we were fighting for our lives and fighting to hold on to our traditions, to hold on to our culture, to hold on to our heritage. Like this is what the Feast of Dedication was about. And so because we were going war after war after war, and we were fighting and fighting, you understand? We decided to do something that we were not supposed to do. We end up doing something we were supposed to do. Right? And I'll tell you why. Right? First Maccabees Chapter 8, verse 1. Now Judas had heard of the Romans. Now remember, here we go. Now this is in First Maccabees Chapter 1. This is in First Maccabees Chapter 8. It says, now Judas is the man in charge right now, leading these battles and leading our brothers into war and to battle against these heathens that are trying to force us and compel us to disobey the laws of God. Now Judas had heard of the Romans. Who are the Romans? Anyone know who the Romans are? The Romans is another ancestor of our oppressor. The Romans is another heathen. The Romans is another person that are Edomites that come from East. It says Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men. Now remember, at this time, the Romans were strong. The Romans were good. Remember, the Lord said Esau was going to be blessed with the sword. You understand? He was a hunter. He was blessed with the sword. That's what the Lord said. They were valiant, and such would lovingly accept all that themselves unto them. Now the Roman Empire was about conquering, about joining forces with people, those people, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. Rome at this time, just like how America is, just like our oppressor is, he loves making peace and allies with and eventually the back. All right. Like this is nature and the culture of our people that try to get the Bible. Right? He our own culture to make allies with people and to join forces with people to make themselves strong, then eventually stab those very allies in the back. That's the culture. So they love accepting people in as allies and making leagues with them. All right. Verse 2. And that they were of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians. So now the Galatians were people of the Greeks. Right? Here you go, Galatians. Like that's why we have a book in the New Testament called Galatians, because we were in Galatia. All right. And Galatia was a land full, all right, of our oppressors. But it eventually became a place full of our people too as well. Right? It says Galatians had done among the Galatians. So the Romans fought against the Galatians and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute. So the Romans conquered the Galatians and put them under tribute. So now Galatia or Galatians are now under Roman rulership. Verse 3. And what they had done in the country of Spain. This is crazy. We get into history now. I want you to understand the Bible has history. You understand? The Bible is about history. It says, and what they had done in the country of Spain. It says what the Romans have done in the country of Spain. That's why Spain is the way Spain is now. Those Spaniards are the descendants of the Romans, or the descendants of our oppressor. Those Spaniards, right? Those Spaniards are not our people. The Spanish is. The Hispanics are. The Latinas are. You understand? It says what they've done to Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there. So Spain was very rich in gold and silver, all right? That land accumulated a lot of gold, like a lot of gold and silver. The Romans went against Spain and conquered it and made it theirs. Verse 4, and that by their policy, it says, and by their policy and patience, they had conquered all the place. I want y'all to play very important to that. I want everyone to understand that right there. All right. I want y'all to understand that right there. I don't want y'all to get away from there. Did everybody hear that? Did everybody understand what the Lord just revealed? All right. Did anybody say it? It says, and that by their policy. Like this is how they won against the Galatians. Like this is how they won against Spain and completely destroyed the Galatians and completely went against Spain. And that by their policy and patience, by their policy, meaning what? The rules that they put into place, the laws that they established, the rules and regulations that they understand, that they legislate, understand, like what they do, and patience, meaning by patience. They weren't trying to destroy these people right away. They were using skill and tactics to do it. They were using skill, patience. It says and patience. I mean, they wasn't in a rush to conquer these nations. They were not in a hurry to conquer these nations. They knew they needed patience. They knew they needed to pass laws to do it. They knew that they needed to act as if they were the good guys and not the bad. They knew that they needed to gain everyone's trust after murdering them. They knew they needed to gain everyone's trust and approval after the fact that they murdered their families and conquered their land. They knew this, so they had patience. You understand? They had patience. They would make, whatever the case may be. And patience, they had conquered all the place. Though it were very far from them, and the kings also that came against them from the uttermost part of the earth. So even though it was far away from them, and there were so many kings that came from so many other places of the earth, till they had discomfited them, meaning until they were able to tactically destroy them and strategically destroy them, they had patience to do it, and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year. Meaning they went against a war of these people, and they went against war and battle against these people to the point where they are under the rulership of Rome, and now people are paying tribute to Rome. You understand? Like this was the spirit of our oppressor in the Bible. You understand? Like this was the spirit of our oppressor. Like this is what's going on right now in the Bible. What's going on today in America is exactly what's going on right now. Like this is our oppressor right here. Right here in the Bible, this is our oppressor in 1 Maccabees Chapter 8. Verse 5. Besides this, how they had discomfited in battle Philip and Perseus, king of the Cittims, and others that lifted up themselves against them and had overcome them. So anyone that was going against the Romans, they completely fought them and they won. All right? No matter who you were, the Romans fought against you, they won, and now you pay tribute to them. Now you're under their authority. All right? Verse 7. And how they took him alive and covenanted that he and such as reigned after him should pay a great tribute and give hostages and that which was agreed upon. So meaning whatever they put into place, they took him alive, they made an agreement with him that whoever was in power in that land had to pay tribute to the Romans. Verse 8, in the country of India and Media and Lydia, and of the goodliest countries, which they took of him and gave to King Eumenes. All right, Eumenes. All right. So it says India and Media and Lydia. Like this was the area where the East Indians dwelt. Like this is Elam right here. This is talking about the East Indians. All right, which would be the Elamites today. I mean, it would be talking about the East Indians, but the Elamites according to the Bible. All right, verse 9. Moreover, how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them. So the Grecians were determined to go against Rome. Why? Because they seen how powerful Rome was also getting. The Romans were getting powerful and having kings under them and having different countries paying tribute to them. They were growing as an empire. They were growing as a full kingdom, as an empire. Just like the Greek Empire was growing, well, the Roman Empire was also rapidly growing at the same time. All right. Verse 10. Verse 10, and that they, having knowledge thereof, sent against them a certain captain, and fighting with them, slew many of them, and carried away captives their wives and their children, and spoiled them, and took possessions of their lands, and pulled down their strongholds, and brought them to be their servants unto this day. So they went against them, and they conquered them, and they took their people. Verse 11. It was told him besides how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms in the isles that at any time resisted them. Like this is how strong our oppressor was. This is what they were able to do. Like this was the power of our oppressor at this time. Verse 12. But with their friends and such as relied upon them, they kept amity, and that they had conquered kingdoms both far and nigh, and so much as all that heard of their name were afraid of them. Meaning everyone that was under their authority and under their rulership, and everyone that heard of their rulership feared the Romans. They feared our oppressor. Verse 13. Also that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, and whom again they displaced, finally, that they were greatly exalted. So it says also whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, meaning even the ones that they helped, right, build their kingdom up, those reign, and whom again they displaced, meaning even ones that they took out of rulership and then put another man in charge. Like this was always the custom of our oppressor. They would go ahead and help build the nation back up, and then whoever was in charge, if they were not okay with whoever was in charge, they would take them out and then put a man who they wanted in charge to rule over that place that they conquered. What does that sound like? Can anybody tell me what that sounds like today? That sounds like what America does. America does not want you to be in charge, even though they conquered your land already. If they don't want you in charge, they're going to kill you and then put who they want in charge of that land, of that country, of that nation. Verse 14, yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby. None of these people were in a status of being powerful and rich. All right, that's what it means to be dressed in a crown, wore a crown or clothed in purple. Like these were royal colors. Like none of them were like this. Verse 15, moreover, how they had made for themselves. Now here we go. Moreover, how they made for themselves a Senate house. It says, so this is what Rome did. This is what Rome did. It says, Roman, moreover, how they had made themselves a Senate house. Anybody know what a Senate house is? Let's continue. Does anybody know what a Senate House is? Can anybody tell me what is a Senate House? Does anybody know what a Senate House is? Does anybody want to give a guess? What is a Senate House? Like this is in the Bible. Like this right here is describing our oppressor right now. Like this is how, like America is built and structured off of Rome. Like First Maccabees Chapter 8 is explaining how Rome established themselves and is explaining how Rome structured themselves. It says, moreover, in First Maccabees Chapter 8, verse 15, moreover, how they made for them a Senate house. What is a Senate house? A Senate house is just like your Congress in America. Your Senate house is a house full of senators. And let's explain. Wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting all way for the people to the end that they might be well ordered. What does that sound like to you? That sounds like your Congress. That sounds like your senators. That sounds like your governors coming together in Washington, D.C. to consult together to make rules and regulations so that the people, to the end, they might be well ordered. So they can order the people. So they can rule the people. So they can have authority over the people and structure the people based off of their laws, their rules, and their customs, and their guidelines. This right here. This right here is where America gets it. Like America is the descendants of Rome. Our oppressor, like your Donald Trumps and your Joe Bidens and your Mike Pences and your Bill Clintons and your Hillary Clintons and your Lyndon B. Johnsons, your JFKs, this is nothing new under the sun. You understand? This is a Senate House right here in Rome being established. Just like there are Senate houses in America of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Here you go. It's in the Bible. 300 men coming together, consulting together daily, consulting away for the people to the end that they may be free, that they be well ordered, so they can live by the guidelines that those 300 men establish. It could be by voting, it could be by whatever, just how it was. Verse 16. Here we go. Verse 16. And that they committed their government to one man every year. It says, and that they committed their government to one man every year who ruled over all their country. Now, I want y'all to pay very close attention to what I just said. It says in verse 16, and that they committed their government to one man every year who ruled over all their country. Who is that one man? Of course, in the Roman Empire, it was an emperor like Julius Caesar. Well, that one man in America was every 4 years, and that's your president. Now, I want y'all to know this. Does anybody know? Did anybody know the original term that a president can serve in America before America was established? There were presidents before George Washington. There were men that ruled over the colonies before George Washington and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson and whatever the case may be. Like there were men who ruled over the colonies before they did. Before it became states and all this type of stuff, there were men who ruled over the colonies in America. Does anybody know the term, the rule that they had to rule over those? I'll give it to y'all for time's sake. It was a 1-year rule. You probably heard names like John Henson. Does anybody know who John Henson was? They say he was the first black president, right? Now I'm not going to go into semantics of who he was because it's not relevant. But if you go into history, those very same men during the time of John Henson that became before John Henson and even after until George Washington, they served 1 year each, because it was the customs of their ancestors to put a man in charge of the nation to rule over their government for 1 year. It says right here, and that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them. Meaning, no matter what, we understood that that they understood that that was their leader, and he was in charge. It did not matter if, well, I believe we should think this way, and the other side believed that we should do this way. However, we conducted business was based off of this leader. This is how the Roman Empire was structured. This is how America is structured. It does not matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. There's one man in charge. There's only one man in charge, and he's the one that keeps the order in the status quo. Now, does Congress does Congress play a very important part in America, passing laws and rules and regulations? Yes, it does. Congress does play a very big part. You understand? It does. But that's your Senate House. That's your Senate House. Your Senate House is in charge of what that Congress is in charge of. That's your Senate House. But your president is that leader to maintain the order of everything. You understand? So your Senate House is passing laws on what to do and what not to do. That leader is there to keep the order of everything, to understand that this is who you're under the authority of. This is how the Romans structured their nation and their empire, just like, and this is where America got it from, just like the Romans. And it's in the Bible. No one would have known that this is in the Bible unless for the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and thanks to the Most High, raising up Commandant General Yohana, all right, to teach brothers under him and other brothers teaching other brothers under them. All right, let's get it. Verse 17. In consideration of these things, Judas chose Eupolemus, the son of John, the son of Achos, the son of Jason, the son of Eleazar, and sent them to Rome to make a league of amity and confederacy with them. Now, this is where we messed up. This is how we ended up into Roman captivity. We started to make a league with the Romans. We made a league of amity with the Romans. Verse 18. And to entreat them that they would take the yoke from them, for they saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. So it says, and to entreat them that they would take the yoke from them, meaning to take the chain and the oppression from off of us. They saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. That the Grecians, right, it was already seen that the Greeks, right, that the Greeks was oppressing Israel. Like we were being oppressed by the Greeks. We were being murdered, we were being killed, we were being forced against our will to not follow the laws of God and to follow the laws that they put into place. Like to eat laughter, to serve other gods, practice a man having sex with another man, practice a woman having sex with another woman. Like all these things was being practiced. Verse 19. That went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, where they spake and said. So they went into the Senate. They went into that Senate house. And they went into the Senate and they spoke these things. Verse 20. Judas Maccabeus with his brethren and the people of the Jews have sent us unto you. Like this is what was said. To make a confederacy and peace with you. And that we might be registered your confederate and friends. Now this is where we made our mistake. Like this is how we ended up in Roman captivity. We were never supposed to make a confederate with these Romans. We were never supposed to make a confederacy and peace with these Romans. The Lord said, do not make peace with them. That was in our law. We were not supposed to make peace with them. We were not supposed to make a confederate or a league with them. Verse 21. So the matter pleased the Romans well. Of course, this pleased the Romans well. Why would it please the Romans well? Because the Romans loved making leagues. And now they were able to make a league with the Israelites. They were able to make a league with the Jews. You know what I'm saying? Now they're like, ooh wee. Now we got LeBron James fighting for us. Now we got Dwight Howard fighting for us. Shaquille O'Neal fighting for us. You understand? We got we got Steph Curry fighting for us. We got what's some football players? We got some we got some what was that linebacker from the Ravens? Oh man, I can't forget his name, but we got all these strong Black, Hispanic, and Native American men that can fight for us. We got Jose Reyes is fighting for us. We got CC Sabathia is fighting for us. We got Carlos Delgado is fighting for us. You understand? We got Ortiz is fighting for us. We got Ramirez fighting for us. You understand? This is why they were very, very happy. You understand? This is why they were this is why they were very well pleased. Verse 22. And this is the copy of the epistle. An epistle is a letter, which the Senate wrote back again in the tables of brass and sent to Jerusalem, that there they might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy. So they sent them a letter so where they can have a memorial based off of the peace with these people. Verse 23. Good success be to the Romans. This is what was said. Good success be to the Romans and to the people of the Jews by sea and by land forever. The sword also an enemy be far from them. So this is what it's saying, meaning, all right? No, with the Jews by sea or by land, and the sword also an enemy be far from them, meaning enemies that are far away. Verse 24. If there come first any war upon the Romans, or any of their confederates throughout all their dominion, meaning if there's a war that comes among the Romans or anyone that is in league with the Romans and under the authority of Rome, neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon them. Verse 25, the people of the Jews shall help them, as the time shall be appointed with all their hearts. This was the agreement that we made with Rome. Right? This is what it was. Anyone that was going to go against war with Rome and the ones that were under the authority of Rome and paying tribute to Rome, all right, and under the rulership of Rome, we had to help fight those enemies going against those Romans in those other places. All right. Neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon them, meaning we can't help the other side, or aid them with victuals, weapons, money, or ships. Meaning we could not help them in any way. We could not help the enemy of the Romans in these other nations under the authority of Rome and under authority and the rulership of the Romans. We could not help them in any kind of way with food, with weapons, with money, or ships, as it have seemed good unto the Romans. Meaning this would be good for us. But they shall keep their covenants without taking anything therefore. But they shall keep their covenants without taking any therefore. Meaning, that means this agreement shall be kept. Verse 27. In the same manner also, if war come first upon the nation of the Jews, the Romans shall help them with all their hearts, according as the time shall be appointed them. Meaning, if there was war against the Jews, the Romans come help. And the ones appointed under the Romans and at that time. Verse 28. Neither shall victuals be given to them that take part against them, or weapons, or money, or ships, as it have seemed good to the Romans. But they shall keep their covenants, and that without deceit. Meaning this agreement shall be kept and without deceit. Now, even though it shall be kept without deceit, Okay, even though it said this covenant, meaning this agreement, shall be kept and without deceit, what did the Lord just say before all of this that the Romans did? What did the Romans say? What did the Lord say about the Romans? Let's jump up real quick and we'll go back down. And it says in verse 4, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place. Even though they were going to keep the covenant without deceit, there was deceit behind that covenant because they didn't understand that by their policy and patience they conquered. It wasn't just by war. It wasn't just by bloodshed. It was by policy. What's this covenant? This is a policy. This covenant is an agreement about a policy that should be kept between the Jews and the Romans. This was a policy. We just gave ourselves up without realizing. We just gave ourselves up under the authority of Rome, and we didn't even realize it. We're realizing it now. Verse 29, according to these articles, did the Romans make a covenant with the people of the Jews. So according to these articles, according to these policies, the Romans made a covenant with the people of the Jews. Verse 30, howbeit if hereafter the one party or the other shall think to meet, to add or diminish anything, they may do it at their pleasures. And whatsoever they shall add or take away shall be ratified. So here we go. It says, howbeit, if hereafter hereafter the one party or the other shall think to meet to add, meaning it's good to add, or diminish anything, meaning to add or take away something, they may do it at their pleasure, meaning you're allowed to take away and to add according to these articles that we agreed on at your pleasure. Whatever you would like to take away or add, both of us has the power to do it. And whatsoever they shall add or take away shall be ratified. But here you go, right? Now, we have to think about it real heavy. Now remember, even though this seems like, oh wow, we have the right to diminish, to add or to take away from the agreement we just made. And we're allowed to do it whenever we would like to. But remember how the Romans conquered these lands. It wasn't just by war, but it was by policy and patience. What else? Of course, we have to know no random small Joe is making a decision, right, of what to add and take away from this agreement. What were the Romans known to do? What were the Romans known to do? The Romans were known, here we go, in verse 13, let's go up. This is what the Romans were known to do. Also that whom they would help to a kingdom. It says, and that whom, meaning this person, they would help to a kingdom. This is who they helped build the kingdom. It says, whom they would help to a kingdom, meaning there was a person that they helped to build up a kingdom. And whom again they would they displace. That very same person they helped build a kingdom with, they would also take and displace them. All right. Finally, that they were greatly exalted, meaning they would help someone build the kingdom up, and then they would also take that very person they helped build, they would displace them to who they wanted to be in charge. So guess what? If the Romans were known to do this, this is how they were able to finesse us into Roman captivity. This was the beginning. This is how we ended up in Roman captivity right here. Let's go all the way down. Let's go to 31. And as touching the evils that Demetrius doeth to the Jews, we have written unto him, saying, wherefore thou made thy yoke heavy upon our friends and confederates the Jews. Verse 32, if therefore they complain any more against thee, we will do them justice and fight with thee by sea and by land. Demetrius at this time was that group that was over the Jews at this time. All right. This is right here. This was us getting into the Roman Empire. You understand? Like this right here was the beginning, all right? This was the beginning of us ending up into Greek captivity. You understand? We were ending up in Greek captivity heavily, man. And we gotta understand that, man. It was very, very serious, man. All right, man. Now let me know if you guys have any questions. All right. We're gonna get into this. Let's get a little more in this, man. Let's talk about because this is how we ended up in Roman captivity. Let's see. I want to say First Maccabees chapter 15. Let's see. Hold on one second. Let's see. Let's see. But this is right here. So we got to pay very close attention to this. This was during. This is how we end up into Roman captivity. All right. And when we get into Second Maccabees chapter 4. at Deuteronomy real quick. And this is what we have to understand. Like this is how we ended up into Roman. This is how we ended up into Roman captivity. Understand? Because there was a certain way that we were supposed to deal with these other nations, and how we were supposed to deal with these other nations. Man, we were never supposed to. We were never supposed to make covenants with them. We were never supposed to make agreements with them. That's why it says in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2, verse 2, and when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Like that's why in the book of Maccabees, during the time, all right, of the Greek captivity, who were fighting against the Greeks, who were fighting against being under the authority of the Greeks, and fighting against them being in charge of us and being in power over us. All right. We were fighting against them, right? It says, thou shalt utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them. We were never supposed to make an agreement with the Romans. We were never supposed to make a league with the Romans, because this is how we ended up under the Roman captivity, because Rome ended up defeating the Greeks and fighting the Greeks. All right? And let me get that. Let me see. I believe. All right, in the Romans, I want y'all to understand something. And it says in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2, and when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them. Like we were never supposed to make the covenant with the Romans that we did. Because we made the covenant with the Romans, and we made a league and agreement with the Romans that we would fight for them as long as they would fight for us, and to beat the Greeks and go to war with the Greeks, right? Thou shalt make no covenant with them. Like this is how we ended up in that captivity. The Romans eventually defeated the Greeks. We eventually won against the Greeks, and now Rome is in power. Because the Romans, now you can look this up in history, by the way. You can just look this up and Google it. Before I end class, I want y'all to go online and I want y'all to look up the Maccabean Revolts. I want y'all to look up the Romans against the Greeks during the Maccabees. Like these are real accounts of history happening. This is why we say it's so important to understand and to come to class that the Bible is real. And then the Bible is very real. The Bible is events in history that actually happened, especially in First and Second Maccabees. Historically speaking, there are known wars and revolts of the Jews going against the Greeks and fighting with Rome and fighting with other nations. We were not supposed to do that, and that's how we ended up in Roman captivity. We end up, because we made a league and a covenant with Rome, then eventually Rome came into power and built up their empire through the policies that they created and through the patience that they had. Like Rome was not built just off of warfare. They did it by policy and patience. They did it by having senate houses. They did it by having a man in charge of the nation. Like in First Maccabees chapter 8, all the way down, this is how Rome did it. And just like how Rome did it, America learned this very strategical plan. By policy and patience is how our oppressor conquers. All right, through policy and patience is how our oppressor conquers. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Here we go. This is what I was looking for right here. This is where, here we go. First Maccabees chapter 15. Here we go. Here we go. All right, here we go, right here. I'm going to start First Maccabees chapter 15. For time's sake, I'm going to start at verse 15. First Maccabees chapter 15, verse 15. In the mean season came Numenius, and his company from Rome, having letters to the kings and countries, wherein were written these things. Salaki. Verse 16. Lucius, consul of the Romans, unto King Ptolemy, greeting. Verse 17, the Jews ambassadors. Now, this is a letter to the Jews. All right, this was a letter to the Jews. All right, the Jews, ambassadors, our friends and confederates, came unto us to renew the old friendship and league, being sent from Simon the high priest and from the people of the Jews. Verse 18, and they brought a shield of gold of 1,000 pounds. So renew the league, it was brought 1,000 pounds of gold. Verse 19, we thought it good, therefore, to write unto the kings and countries that they should do them no harm, nor fight against them their cities or countries, nor yet aid their enemies against them. So this was a part of the covenant. All right, this was part of the agreement. All right. Verse 20, it seemed also good to us to receive the shield of them. So it was good for us to receive that shield. Now it's talking about the Romans. Verse 21, if therefore there be any pestilent fellows, they have fled from their country unto you, deliver them unto Simon the high priest, that they may punish them according to their own law. Verse 22, the same things wrote he likewise unto Demetrius, the king, and Attalus, and Areophas, and Arces. All right, verse 23, and to the countries, and to Sepsanes, and to the Lacedaemonians, and to Delos, and to Mendius, and to Sicilian, and Quaria, and to Samus, and to Pamphylia, and Lycia, and Halconarsus, and Rhodus, and Aradis, and Cos, and Side, and Aradis, and Gortinaria, and Nidus, and Cyprus, and Cyrene. 24. And the copy hereof they wrote to Simon the high priest. So now these are all the names of the lands and the countries and the kings, all right, who the Romans are in charge of. You understand? I want you to understand this was after the Greeks are defeated. All right. The Greeks are now defeated from Rome. They already, the context is the letter was already written that the Greeks are going to pay everything back to the Jews. And so now the Romans are now, remember, when Romans defeat someone, they make that land or that nation pay tribute to them. That's why we read First Maccabees chapter 8. So once the Romans defeated the Greeks, All right. And the Jews defeated the Greeks with the Romans. Now the Romans are over the Greeks, and the Romans are over all these people we just listed. In the copy here, they wrote to Simon the high priest, verse 25. So Antiochus the king camped against Dora the second day, assaulting it continually, and making engines by which means he shut up Typhon, that he could neither go out or in. Verse 26. At the time, Simon sent him 2,000 chosen men to aid him, silver also, and gold and much armor. All right, so they sent them men to fight. Verse 27. Nevertheless, he would not receive them, but break all the covenants which he had made with him afore, and became strange unto them. So now these covenants, they became strange. There was no more agreements. Furthermore, he sent unto him Athenobius, one of his friends, to commune with him and say, ye withhold Joppa and Gazara with the tower that is in Jerusalem, which are cities of my realm. Right? So furthermore, he sent unto him Antipholus, meaning, so this was something that this man was in charge of in Jerusalem for some reason. The borders thereof ye have wasted, and done great hurt in the land, and got the dominion of many places within my kingdom. So now he's saying, like, you out here, you destroyed my kingdom, you destroyed my land, you put my land through so much hardships. Verse 30. Now therefore deliver the cities which ye have taken, and the tributes of the places whereof ye have gotten dominion without the borders of Judea. Verse 31. Or else give me for them 500 talents of silver, and for the harm that ye have done, and the tributes of the cities, other 500 talents. If not, we will come and fight against you. So if you did not do this, we were going to come fight against you. So Athenobius, the king's friend, came to Jerusalem, and when he saw the glory of Simon, and the cupboard of gold and silver plate, and his great attendants, he was astonished, and told him the king's message. So he told him the king's message. Then answered Simon and said unto him, we have neither taken other men's land, nor holden that which appertaineth to others, but the inheritance of our fathers, which our enemies had wrongfully in possession a certain time. So now we're explaining, like, we did not go to war just for no reason. This land was our land. Verse 33, or verse 34. Wherefore we have opportunity hold inheritance of our fathers. Verse 35. And whereas thou demandest Joppa and Gazara, albeit they did great harm unto the people in our country, yet will we give thee 100 talents of them hereunto. Athenobius answered him not a word. All right, verse 36. But returned in a rage to the king, and made report unto him these speeches, and of the glory of Simon, and of all that he had seen, whereupon the king was exceedingly wroth. Like it. Verse, let me skip down. Here we go. Verse 39. And commanded him to remove his host toward Judea. Also he commanded him to build up Cedron, and to fortify the gates, and to war against the people. But as for the king himself, he pursued Typhon. So Sendebeus came to Jamnia, and began to provoke the people, and to invade Judea, and to take the people prisoners and slay them. And when he had built up Sendro, he set horsemen there, and an host of footmen, and to the end that issuing out they might make outroads upon the ways of Judea, and the king had commanded him. All right. So now these covenants were strange unto the king, even though we made covenants and we were just fighting against the land. We were fighting against the Greeks, right, to take our land back, because this was the land of our forefathers promised by the Most High. And this was all that happened, all right? This is all it was. All right. Anyone? So with that, that's the class. With that, I say Amadim, which means to stand. All right. The men of Israel, we're going to give a courteous salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Amadu, Barak, Yahweh Ba Hashem Yahushua Barakatham, Yadimata, Saul Adwaki, this means turn to the sisters. Men of Israel, we want to give a courage salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Amadu, Barak, Yahweh Shema Alathan Ba Hashem Yahushua, Yadimata. With that, class is dismissed.